Hi, welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today we're going to be working on a 2013, it's a Toyota, it's a Rav 4. We're going to be replacing the front brake pads as well as the front brake rotors. And the reason we're going to be changing them is because the rust lip on the outside of the rotor is so thick that there's just absolutely no way you can put those brake pads back on there without getting some kind of a squeak or a rattle or something. We are going to change the hardware kit that comes with the brakes also, because that way when you put it back together, it slides nice and easy just the way it's supposed to. We're going to lubricate everything, and we're going to check the slide pins to make sure everything functions the way it's supposed to. I already completed this side. I'm going to go around to the other side, and I'm going to take you along, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, step by step. Follow my directions, and you'll have a perfect brake job. All right, let me get up there. I'm going to show you exactly what to do step by step, and I'll show you what this one looks like when it's finished. All right, that's our new rotor we installed on here. We put the new brake pads on. We installed the new hardware here also, and we lubricated the slide pins right in the back right here. So let me go around the other side, and I'm going to show you why we're replacing everything on this side here. As you can see, there's just no way that we're going to possibly get that rust lip off in the front here, and in the back is even worse than the front. So, all right, let me grab some tools, and we're going to get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to push the caliper piston back in to make sure that the slide pins function correctly. So let me grab a tool, and we'll do that. Right, basically what you do is you take a screwdriver, a pry bar, anything like that, and you put it inside in here, and you just keep slight pressure on it, and it pushes the piston all the way back into the bore as far as it can go. And the way you check a slide pin is to make sure that these slide pins are not frozen, is you just push the caliper back and forth, and you can see it sliding back and forth there. They're sliding back and forth properly. So we're going to lubricate everything here, but we don't have to change the caliper. The caliper's good. So, all right, let me grab some tools. We're going to use this, probably a 14 millimeter here. The other bolt in the back of the mounting bracket here is probably going to be a right there. The other bolt is actually right here, and there's another one right down underneath here also. We'll take that out. And we're going to relocate the caliper off to the side, and we'll remove the mounting bracket, and we're going to pull that rotor off. Now, the way you can get that rotor off is, one, you can get in there and you can beat the daylights out of it with a hammer to get it off. Or an easier way to do it is just to take a bolt like this, and you screw it right in here, and you can take that rotor right off. But let's get started, and I'll show you when we get to that point exactly how to do it. Okay. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove these two bolts on the bottom that we talked about here. Remember, counterclockwise to take them off, clockwise to put them on. Once you break them loose, you can usually just take them out by hand. They're really not that tight. Don't lose them, because you're going to need to reuse these later on. And what we do is you take your caliper, you never leave the caliper hanging by the brake hose itself. You take a hanger like this and just secure it up and out of the way so that it's not hanging on this hose. I got a couple emails from people saying that, oh, you can leave it hanging by the hose because the hose can hold 2,000 or 3,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. Read any manual, it's going to tell you the same thing. Support the caliper and don't let the hose hang. So that's following proper procedure, but of course you got a lot of people that try to shortcut things. All right, we're going to take out these two bolts in the back here that we previously we saw. Same thing up here. Now obviously if you have air, you can take it off with an air gun, but I'm just showing you how to do it without the air gun, because if you're doing it on the street or in your garage at home, you're not going to have an air gun to do this. So you can do everything that I'm doing here, you can do by hand. Now, we did talk about these before. We're going to lubricate these later on, but I'm going to show you over on the workbench exactly how to do that. Alright, next thing we're going to do is when we talked about putting that bolt into it, screw it into the rotor, and you can take the rotor off. And you just tighten it up, and it'll pull off. Now, if you don't have a bolt, it doesn't really matter. You could take your friendly mechanic's tool here and just beat the heck out of the back of the rotor. We're going to be changing it anyway, but that's always an option too. So the way I always do it is, instead of knocking myself out, just screw a screw in here, and you'll see how easily it pops right off. Okay, right off. Take our rotor off the car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the face of this, where the rotor is going to mount onto a piece of the hub bearing here. We're going to clean this up here so it's nice and clean. We're going to clean it up with a disc. You can clean it with a scraper or sandpaper, whatever you have. Make sure that this surface here is nice and clean. So let me clean this off, and we'll come back and we're going to wrap this job up. Okay, now that we cleaned up the face on here, we can put the rotor back on, and it just slides right back on. Now, if you want, what I always do is screw a lug nut onto it just to hold the rotor in place, because as you can see, it moves around quite a bit. Just screw a lug nut on, it'll hold it in position for you while you do the rest of the work to put the mounting bracket back on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take off these brake pads here. You just tap them, and they come right out. Same thing here, you just tap it, and they come right out. Now, we're just going to put these off to the side for now, and then we're going to change these, the hardware kit right here. We're going to replace these with new ones, and the way you do that is you just take this, and you pull them out like this. As you can see, they're pretty rusty. We're just going to take these off here, and then we're going to put the new ones back on. So we're going to take these off, we'll switch them back over, and we'll get this job wrapped up and get it out the door. All right, the way you do it is just take your new clip, you put it back in here like this, and you push it in place. So I'm not going to bore you with this. I'm going to do that, and we'll come right back. Okay, and this is what it looks like after you put the clips in. They just push right inside there, so you can't make a mistake. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the brake pad, and I'm going to show you how we do that. Now, this was the brake pad that came off the outer part of the caliper right here, and as you can see, the clip is right up on the top. Make sure you put the clip back on the top in the same position here, and you're going to do the same thing on the other brake pad too. This is the other brake pad, and as you can see, it's on the top of the other brake pad also. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our caliper, and we're going to lubricate everything that the brake pad touches. You put a little dab of grease like this. Everywhere that the brake pad touches, you lubricate. Makes it a lot easier, and the slide's nice and easy. Right? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out these slide pins right here. We're going to do these one at a time. And the reason we're going to do them one at a time is because they are two different ones. So just pull them both up a little bit like this. Take it out. And then you put some of the brake grease on here like this. Right? Put it back in. Make sure it pushes all the way in, and the boot pops right back into that little seal right there, like that. And as you can see, this pin is different than that pin. The other one had that little washer on it, the rubber O-ring. This one does not. Alright, so a little bit of grease on here, and you put it back in here like this. Put it there, and we can start to put it back together. Now, remember we talked about putting the brake pad back in. Now, this is going to go in just like this here. This clip is up on the top, so you have to put it in this way here, sideways, and you push it in. Sometimes it's a little bit of a pain in the rear end to get it in. Alright, once you've got both of these brake pads in here, like this, now these are a pain in the rear end to get in, so you do have to play around a little bit to get them in there, and then you put it over the top like this, squeeze your pads together so they don't pop out, and then you put your two bolts that hold the caliper mounting bracket back onto the vehicle. Screw them in as far as you can by hand. And you tighten them up. Nice and tight. Okay, that's nice and tight now. Now, remember when you put these two bolts in over here, put them back in, but don't tighten them up until you have both of them screwed down all the way. You're just going to catch them for now, and then you tighten them up after you have both of them in position. Next thing we're going to do is take our caliper, and we'll slide our caliper back over the brake pads. Now, as you can see, it's not going over the top of the brake pads. And the reason it's not going over is because the piston didn't push in all the way. So let me grab the tool, and I'm going to show you how to push that piston all the way back in. What you do is you just put a brake pad in here like this, and you take a tool like this. They have many different tools out there, and this will push the piston all the way back in. And just turn it in, and the piston pushes all the way back in and recesses back into the bore as far as it's supposed to go. And we can take our caliper, put our caliper back on like this, push your slide pins back in to accommodate the rotor, the caliper. Then you catch both bolts by hand. Don't tighten them up yet. You want to make sure they're both caught. And you screw them in as far as you can by hand. And you grab your 14mm ratchet, and you tighten the bolts all the way tight. Now I want to mention, if you're tightening this up and it doesn't tighten, it just spins, you can grab like a probably an 18mm or 19mm wrench, and you hold this portion of the slider so it doesn't move. Alright, so that's it. So let me just take you in there. I'll show you everything step by step to make sure you did it correctly. Alright, we have our rotor is on. We cleaned up the mounting area where the rotor is going to mount to. We put our mounting bracket back on the car. We tightened up the bolts in the top as well as in the bottom right here. We installed new hardware kit. We lubricated everything where the brake pads go, and we put our clips back on top and bottom, and we tightened up our caliper mounting bolts. That's it. We're all set. All right, next thing we're going to do is go in the car. We're going to pump the brake pedal up a couple of times to get the pedal nice and firm. Take it out for a drive, and we're going to get this job wrapped up and out the door. All right, thanks for watching. Like always, see you on the next one.